Hi, it's Dwyer. It is Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in the United States, January 17th, 2022. Let's talk boxing. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let me also say, too, a lot of what I talk about in videos are just things I've observed that I go by. I haven't read much of what I'm talking about in a book. I'm not looking for consensus, agreement. I'm just giving you one man's opinion on what I see and how I bet fights. So, 2021, let's talk about one of the biggest rounds of the year. It was one of the most anticipated fights of the year. If you're into fight styles, I believe this round is rich with differing fight styles for discussion. It is the first round of Alexander Usyk's challenge of heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Now, let me just point out that Joshua is the bigger man. Joshua had the bigger punch. Joshua is in front of a friendly crowd. The fight takes place in the United Kingdom. So Usyk, who did fight a couple of heavyweights before entering this fight, was the smaller man, and there was an issue on whether a cruiserweight these days could take on a big, heavy-hitting heavyweight champion and be competitive. It was unclear whether Joshua was going to run across the ring and let this guy know, hey, you're in the wrong division. This is my house. This is my division. You're going to have to survive some bombs to prove to me that you belong in the ring with me before we settle down and actually start boxing. Right? Well, what happened was very different. Let's talk about, and again, this is just my interpretation of events, my theories on boxing. Let's talk about why it happened. Usyk comes out, and folks, the film is on YouTube. I'm asking you to rewatch the first round. You don't even have to go looking for it. Just fast forward past the introductions. A lot of boxing is rhythm. Usyk, southpaw, comes out, and you'll notice Usyk comes out and is immediately doing some quick, sudden twitch moves to throw off Joshua's timing. Right? He comes out, you'll notice he just walks out. He doesn't just stand there. He actually comes out, then he will twitch. He's twitching. You'll notice that his body speed varies because of the twitches. And of course, he's herky-jerky. He's not just throwing a jab, right? He's not just throwing punches. He's jerking while he throws the punch. You can sense there's extra movement with Usyk. Now, Joshua, and this is the curse, in my opinion, of being heavy-handed. This is also the curse of being a bigger heavyweight. It seems to me that smaller guys have more coordination. But you'll notice just in terms of the rhythm of the fight, while Usyk is, let's be politically incorrect, fast twitch with the muscles, you'll notice that Joshua isn't. Joshua's body's moving a lot more slowly. The first round tells you that Usyk can change rhythm and move faster, move more suddenly. than Anthony Joshua. Right? Joshua comes out. Big guys like to lean into punches. Big guys are in a different sport than smaller, more agile guys. Right? There's no twitch in Anthony Joshua. He's out there and he's trying to digest what Usyk is doing. He's moving a lot slower. You can tell from the first round, he has to figure out the lay of the land before he jumps inside on Usyk. This is with a size advantage. This is with a weight advantage. This is with a power advantage. This is with a crowd advantage. Right? Joshua's there in the first round and he's looking at Usyk, trying to figure out how Usyk's moving. Joshua's not spending that round trying to corner Usyk, trying to let Usyk know, hey, buddy, you're going to get bullied. I'm here to bully you. Prove to me you belong in my division. That's not this fight. Let's fast forward to the last round. To me, this is one of the more important rounds in recent memory. Because Usyk's bluffing. He's hanging out. He has the fight won, in my opinion. He's hanging out the first, let's say, 2 minutes. Might even be longer than that. Of the last round. He's outboxing Anthony Joshua. But he's polite about it. Right, this is the guy who doesn't want to wake up the sleeping bear. He's playing it safe. The first, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. You don't see the real guy until the last 50 seconds of the fight. Might even be shorter than that. That's when, after playing nice, after outboxing Anthony Joshua, that's when Usyk decides he's going to step in the pocket and cuff Joshua around. And folks, that's what he does. And a few things are clear in that 12th round. Usyk's not only the faster man, he's the stronger man in that last round. Right? The 12 rounds have drained Joshua of his strength. Also, Usyk still has Joshua guessing on where he's going to be. In the 12th round, Joshua doesn't know where Usyk's going to be. Also, Usyk gets Joshua over by the side of the ropes. Joshua's completely overwhelmed. I mean, completely overwhelmed. Tyson Fury, the best heavyweight on the planet, talked about how he's expecting a stoppage in the rematch of Usyk against Anthony Joshua. Let me pivot here and just say, look, I know when I make Joshua videos, I can tell that Joshua is one of the most popular fighters in the sport. Because many of his fans will comment on the video, and they're very protective of Joshua. And when you read the comments, you're not going to read about just this fight. Joshua fans have followed his entire career. They will talk about fights that took place years ago that are supposed to show that Joshua is aggressive, that Joshua is a hunter, that Joshua is a force at heavyweight. Well, just understand, Usyk already knows, both men know, that as the fight progresses, Usyk increasingly has the upper hand. Usyk knows how to get inside on Joshua. Usyk knows. Joshua doesn't even know how to clinch him when he wants to get on a roll. Look at that last round. Joshua goes over by the ropes, folks. That's how desperate he is. with the size advantage. Right, Joshua, there are some heavyweights who, if they're fighting a smaller man and the smaller man has outboxed them, then the smaller man opens up at the end of the fight. There are some heavyweights who will think to themselves, thank God, this gives me a chance to land my punch. Right, this doofus is here in the pocket with me, and I have the size advantage. Right, you don't think that Big George Foreman wasn't completely thrilled to see Michael Moore hanging around him late in the fight? Where Foreman, of course, could and did end the fight on a big punch. Revisit the last round of Anthony Joshua Usyk. Joshua's just trying to survive the round. I don't know whether Joshua thought he was winning the fight or not. Now, what I want people to do is to think about a different mindset. Usyk in the first round, when he's doing quick twitch stuff, and it's deliberate, right? He does it for several rounds. When he comes out and he's just randomly moving a shoulder and going like this, a little extra movement to change the tempo, he knows that Joshua is going to react to him. Right? Joshua's not a lead puncher. He's not a lead puncher. He's in the first round against a smaller man, and he's cautiously looking at what the smaller man is going to do. When the smaller man starts changing tempo and doing quick moves and stuff like that, Joshua's watching him and thinking about how he's going to counter it. Joshua, as big as he is, as much of a blessed puncher as he is, Joshua's a counterpuncher. Now, I want folks to keep that in mind. Please revisit a great fight. Joe Smith against Steve Geffrard. Right, folks? Joe Smith is a lead puncher. Joe Smith comes out against Geffrard. Right? Geffrard is a late replacement. That would throw a counterpuncher who has prepared for a certain type of opponent off. It doesn't throw Joe Smith off, because Joe Smith is a fastball pitcher. By that I mean he has a construct. He does very well. He's not there deciding whether to be front foot or back foot. He already knows, just like a relief pitcher out the bullpen in baseball, who has gotten to the major leagues throwing a high 90s fastball, knows he's in the game to throw heat. Aroldis Chapman, when he comes out of the bullpen for the New York Yankees, is not coming in thinking he's going to, use changeups, off-speed pitches. No, he's in there to throw heat. Joe Smith comes out, last-minute replacement, who cares? Joe's on his front foot. Joe is hunting from the opening bell. Joe is cornering his opponent. He knows that in his construct, where he has his head tilted down, where he's bent at the waist so it's hard to hit his body, where he's going to throw hooks with both hands, right? He's not looking for openings. He's creating openings, right? He knows that the best defense is a good offense in his construct. He knows he hits hard. He knows what he's going to do, regardless of what his opponent's going to do. He knows what he's going to do. He knows he's not going to be on his back foot and flicking a jab and avoiding punches. No. Joe has ruled out that possibility. He's going to come forward. He's going to be throwing hooks. He's going to be, if Geffrard, who has a high guard, keeps his hands up, Joe already knows he's going to go to the body. Right? He already knows that. It's predetermined. So against Usyk, and we're just blurring weights here. I'm just talking styles here, not what would actually happen if the two guys fought. I understand Usyk, cruiser, bigger than Joe Smith, light heavy. But against an Usyk, understand Joe wouldn't care. This is the opposite of Anthony Joshua. Joe would not care whether Usyk's twitching, trying to show some different rhythm. Usyk wouldn't get Joe Smith off his rhythm. Joe would know, I'm going to be on my front foot. I'm going to tilt my head. I'm going to be throwing hooks with both hands. Left, right, left, right, left, right. If this guy backs up, I'm going to continue to throw my hands. It doesn't have to be heavy punches. I'm going to throw my hands to keep this guy busy. So when he makes a move, when he tries to fight back, my hands are already cocked for me to throw with leverage on the guy. Right? Joe Smith also gets stronger as the fight goes forward. He's weakening an opponent. He's able to fight faster. There's less mental strain because he's not doing a lot of reading of his opponent. He's not there seeing how the opponent moves. Oh, he's twitchy and stuff, and trying to get the timing for a counterpunch. No, he's leading. The other guy can move all he wants. Joe Smith is going to come in with heavy artillery. It's stamina plus volume. Right? The question for AJ Nation is whether AJ, with the size and punching power advantage on almost anyone in the heavyweight division. Right? AJ's not just tall, he has weight on him. Right? Tyson Fury called Deontay Wilder a basketball player. You wouldn't think of saying that to AJ. Heavy muscle mass. Thick neck. You're not going to throw him a basketball in his gym. Right? The question is whether AJ can become a lead puncher early in a fight against a smaller man to let the smaller man know you're going to have to feel my power. You're going to have to get past my power to beat me. Steve Geffrard found out the hard way. He couldn't get past Joe Smith's power. Right? Smith isn't unbeatable. He lost to Dimitri Bivol, for example. Right? But understand, with Joe Smith, you know you're going to get hit with hard shots. This is kind of like Rocky Marciano. He's daring you to fight back. It's an open question on whether you can have a slow round to regain your stamina against Joe Smith, because he's trying to wilt you from the opening bell. As you watch Joe Smith fights, just like when you watch a Rocky Marciano fight, you never think, wow, I hope Joe steps on the gas. Because he's stepping on the gas. The punches are flowing. He is active. He's backing guys up. So these guys who rely on nuance, Bernard Hopkins, found themselves in with a tiger against Joe Smith. Think about how that Hopkins fight ends. Right? Bernard's a guy who, is trying to lay traps. He's trying to force you to do certain things so he can counter in certain ways. No, that fight ends with Bernard up on the ropes. Joe Smith is not paying attention to Bernard Hopkins' traps. Joe must have felt he hits harder than Bernard Hopkins. You want to trade? Let's trade. Right? The great Lou Duva, great trainer, used to talk about how if you had your hands up against Rocky Marciano, Marciano would hit you on your muscle. Marciano would hit whatever he could. He wasn't going to stand there and look at you with your hands up and stuff. No, he's going to continue to let his hands flow. If you're going to beat Alexander Usyk, that's what you're going to have to do. Right? One of Usyk's secrets is the fact that he's actually taller than Sonny Liston. Right? We think of him as a cruiserweight. Historically, he'd be a heavyweight. Right? He's bigger than Rocky Marciano. But understand, we're in an era of supersized heavyweights. Now, a Deontay Wilder doesn't have enough of a left hand to just come in and be hyper-aggressive. Joshua does. Joshua has to understand, though, that one of the curses of being a heavy hitter, a guy who leans into punches and stuff like that, is that you don't have the quickness most of the time, right, of a smaller, more agile guy. So some heavyweight champs, George Foreman, for example, understood this guy might have the hand speed advantage on me. But even if he hits me with 1.5 punches for every punch I land on him, my punches are more debilitating. Right? So look at Foreman against Kenny Norton. We don't even have to think about the Frazier fight. Once Foreman hurts Norton, he's coming forward. Right? Foreman wants a shootout. What Anthony Joshua needs is more Joe Smith in him. And let me just say, mentally it's very hard, because if you are a counterpuncher and you're thinking of countering, if that's your default thought process, the Joe Smiths of the world are going to have a distinct advantage against you early. Aren't they? Because Joe Smith is thinking, okay, in my construct, I'm hard to hit. And he is. Smith has his hands up here. Right? He's leaning. He's throwing. Right? You know, as you try to get space, Geffrard couldn't even get space to keep Joe Smith off of him. As you try to get space, Joe is hitting you in the body. Right? Just like a fastball pitcher doesn't have to worry about a catcher saying, hey, player, throw a screwball, throw a knuckleball, right? Hey, you know that's not my game, right? It's fastball changeup, for some curve. Right? The fewer pitches gives a fastball pitcher the opportunity to prepare, to perfect, to have his fastball ready. Anthony Joshua against Usyk came out and wanted to box Usyk. He needed to see how Usyk was moving. He needed to see the openings, if any. He was playing a game of chess. Right? If A, then B. If not A, then C. Now contrast that with the beginning of the Hagler-Hearns fight. Right? Thomas Hearns, for those who don't know, his nickname was the Hitman. He got the welterweight title by dispatching Pimpino Cuevas, I believe, in the second round. Right? Hearns, big puncher. That fight starts, the Hearns-Hagler fight starts with Hagler coming up to Hearns and throwing a hook. Right? Hagler wasn't going to sit there and research Thomas Hearns for the first 2 rounds to write a dissertation on him. He just dove in. Now, in the heavyweight division right now, it's interesting. Tyson Fury, when he fights inside, can just dive in. Usyk had a problem early in his fight against Derek Chisora, who just dove in. Revisit that fight. Chisora doesn't spend the first few rounds going, what's Usyk doing? Let me see his moves. Right? He's not focused on Usyk coming in and moving a certain... No. The idea is, player, this is the heavyweight division. Your cruiserweight resume does not matter. Here I am. Show me that you can take my punches. Show me that you can handle being muscled here over to the ropes. You want to hit me with cruiserweight shots? Go for it. I've been hit with heavyweight shots. I'll take my chances. So let me just say, Joe Smith, for those interested in an aggressive, intelligent front foot. By intelligent, I mean he's not running in with his chin high to get hit. No, the chin's tucked. Right? He comes in, he's throwing shots. As you cover up, he'll break cadence and just go like this with his hands to just keep you on the defensive. Right? Joe Smith fights, like Arthur Beterbiev fights, will have an opponent whose back is against the ropes for multiple rounds. Right? Geffrard, as brave as he was, right? He does make it to the 9th round. As brave as he was, as determined as he was, especially for a short notice fight, never gets a chance to get going. Understand, once Joe has you on your back foot, you understand, I can't move this hand down here to throw a body shot on Joe because Joe hits hard and he's now going to hit me in the head. Right? I'd love to see Joe against a defensive wizard like a Floyd Mayweather, where Mayweather's shoulder would be front and center to Joe Smith, and where Mayweather would have a hand like this with a lean. But you and I know great defensive skills like that are few and far between. Folks, I'll just tell you, they're not in the heavyweight division right now. So, watching Joe Smith, I enjoyed this fight. Lead puncher, front foot, two-handed, heavy power, opens up every round, is there with stamina. Right, Steve Geffrard had to be the most demoralized person in the building by the time the 9th round started. His corner throws in the towel. Right, think about that. Because Joe Smith was still coming. Right, there's no, Joe should have been more aggressive. There is with Joshua. Right, the multi-million-dollar question right now in the heavyweight division is, can Joshua throw his weight around on Usyk in the rematch? Right, because you and I know if Joshua's game plan is to box Usyk again, that's high risk against an unbeaten guy who is the better boxer. Right, so what Joshua has to do is make this a fight. Come out, swing for the fences. Now understand, if you do that and Usyk's still standing after the first 6 rounds, given that Joshua is finished stamina-wise in the 12th round of the first fight, and that's without putting his foot on the gas, throwing caution to the wind, coming in and throwing his weight around, pushing Usyk, bullying Usyk. Right? If Joshua does unload the gun, think Lennox Lewis against Andrew Galata. I encourage people to review that fight. Right? Lewis comes out. Lewis was upset that night. He called Galata a misfit. In his post-fight interview, Lewis, who is normally a classy guy, says, hey man, I just want to rid the heavyweight division of all these misfits. That's after coming out He waits for his moment, then he jumps in, blows out Golota. Right? Let's remember, Golota fights Riddick Bowe twice and is winning both fights before getting disqualified because of low blows. Right? Does AJ have the Lennox Lewis who fought Andrew Golota in him? We'll find out in the rematch. I know AJ is working with different trainers and stuff like that. I'm just telling you, against a master, against a guy who has perfected his boxing style and who does different things in the ring, Usyk is going to have the advantage anytime a boxing match breaks out. Joshua's game plan has to be a George Foreman game plan. Right? Seek and destroy. It has to be a Joe Smith game plan. What Joshua should be working on in the gym right now is some construct where he's hard to hit and he could dole out big punishment and he doesn't have to think that much. He doesn't have to worry about the fact that he's an orthodox fighter fighting a southpaw. Right? He has to come in, he has power with both hands, he hits hard. The idea should be, I'm going to throw volume and power at you early. If you're weakened, okay, then maybe, like the Kubrat Pulev fight, I let this linger a little bit. Play it safe and win that way. But I'm going for the stoppage. That's the Joshua mindset that he needs to have. Right? And let me also say this too. If he throws the kitchen sink at Usyk, and Usyk's still standing, and Joshua's out of gas, like Derek Chisora was in the middle rounds against Usyk, then Joshua might have to make the decision Sonny Liston made in the first Ali fight. Right? Remember, Liston, according to folklore, even has liniment on his gloves. Blinds Ali for one round. Guess what? Ali's eyes eventually clear and we're back to hand speed and movement. Right? Liston loses that fight on his stool. Claimed he had a shoulder injury. Right? Oscar De La Hoya finished against Manny Pacquiao. Loses that fight on his stool. Decides he's not going to continue. Right? If I'm Joshua, I come to grips with the fact that I cannot outbox Alexander Usyk. So the goal is going to be to show stamina and power the first 6 rounds. If it doesn't happen and I'm exhausted and Usyk isn't depleted, right? Usyk's not huffing and puffing himself. Usyk hasn't hit the canvas a few times, so I'm with a multi-round lead, where maybe if I get a second win, maybe I can land a plane, right? Get the decision. If I'm not in that position, then if I'm Joshua, I quietly call it a day, like Liston did, like De La Hoya did. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Let me also point out, too, that Joe Smith against Canelo, Joe Smith, of course, wants to fight Bivol again because Joe Smith's champion. Right? Bivol beat him the first time. That's the guy he wants. He wants redemption. I get it. But if they throw a lot of money at him to fight Canelo, just understand Joe Smith has an advantage on Canelo in terms of stamina. Right? Canelo has been allowed to trudge across the ring against guys who watch him coming, who aren't trying to put him up on the ropes, right? Caleb Plant, that last fight at 168, isn't on his front foot trying to put Canelo up on the ropes. Now, Canelo is excellent on the inside, but I would encourage people to look at the Canelo-Alfredo Angulo fight. Right? El Perro is on his front foot against Canelo, because that's who El Perro is. Right? You'll notice a couple of things in that fight. El Perro has his moments. He's overmatched. Canelo is great inside when he has stamina. Canelo has a great uppercut. Canelo is one of boxing's premier body punchers. He is. But you'll notice El Perro backs up Canelo at times in that fight. And you'll notice Canelo gets tired. Folks, you cannot get tired and expect to beat Joe Smith. I'll just leave with that. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Great win by Joe Smith. Keep an eye on him. He's one of the light heavyweight champions. He wants Bivol. I'm guessing if they came to him with a Beterbiev fight, he'd take that. Right? He talks about wanting a legacy. Right? Let's just say I don't believe this guy would be afraid of Saul Alvarez. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.